Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a really spectacular new recording of Prokofiev Piano Concertos 2 and 3, the two biggest, most popular ones, and the Seventh Piano Sonata, which is also one of the most popular ones, featuring Steward Goodyear and the BBC Symphony under Andrew Litton. Now, this is on the Orchid Classics label. And you really need to hear this if you like these works. Prokofiev's piano concertos, particularly the second, have been very, very popular lately because they're surefire, virtuoso vehicles. And the second concerto particularly has made a huge comeback. It's actually very interesting. The second was written after the third, at least the version we have, because Prokofiev wrote it way back, and then it was destroyed in a fire or something like that during the Russian Revolution. And so after he wrote the third concerto, and it was quite successful, he rewrote the second. And we don't know what the differences would be between the final version and the original version, although Prokofiev said that they were pretty substantially reworked one to the other. So it's actually a bit of a later piece, and it's a more modernish sounding piece, and it's just has a fabulously original form. It has a slowish opening movement, and then a really fast toccata second movement which is in octaves throughout, and it's just freakishly virtuosic. And then a grotesque march third movement, and a zippy finale with a slow interlude. Really kind of cool, fabulous sounding. And of course, the first movement is famous for the cadenza from hell, which takes up nearly half the movement. It's the combination development and kind of recapitulation, it just mixes all the themes together, and you have to hear it to believe it. I mean, the whole keyboard's going simultaneously. It's really amazing. And Goodyear has no problems with it at all. I mean, he plays it phenomenally well. But all of these, usually when you have the second and the third, if they're coupled or whether they're coupled or not, there's something wrong somewhere. Something just doesn't go right. Well, everything goes right here. These are two of the most well-judged and shapely performances of this music I've ever heard. A lot of the credit, of course, belongs with Goodyear, who plays magnificently, sensitively, virtuosically, flawlessly, just about. And a lot of the credit belongs to Andrew Litton and the BBC Symphony, because Andrew Litton is really always at his best in Russian music, and he knows this stuff, and he's got it beautifully shaped. I mean, these performances are exceptional for the orchestral accompaniments as well as for the sensational piano playing. So the second concerto is amazing. It's absolutely fantastic. And the third, the one that's everyone's done a bazillion, trillion, zillion, gillion, jillion times, also goes remarkably well. I mean, there are moments you want to make sure they get right, like the introductory licks in the first movement, the piano's doing the runs. It's got to have snap. And these performances, they have it. They have snap. They have rhythmic point. He gets those wry, humorous gestures that Prokofiev litters his music with all over the place. You hear that, it's the second subject in the first movement. The second piano concerto, it's the, blum, blum, blah, dum, bum, ba, da, 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 dum, blah, da, 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 that sort of stuff. Little glissandos and things and toss-offs. I mean, all that stuff has to be characterized. It has to sound like there's this crazy person in the room and they're making faces at you while they're playing. Well, Goodyear has face. He really does. I mean, the theme and variations, second movement, is wonderfully, wonderfully paced, terrifically judged, and the recording is gorgeous. The sonics are great. You hear all the orchestral detail surrounding the piano, and and between the piano and the orchestra's interactions with each other. And then in the finale, I mean, they really handle the closing pages beautifully, because it's one of those multiple codas. It keeps building and building, then it goes back down, then it builds and it builds up again, and then at the very end, it has such a wonderful feeling of culmination. Sometimes it just kind of stops. So these are just as good as it gets. They really are. And the Seventh Sonata is very, very fine too. I mean, terrific. It's one of those pieces. It's a showpiece, of course, especially for the finale, the toccata finale. And it's a wartime piece, but it goes really well with these. I've been doing this, but I should do it this way. There we go. With these two concertos, because they both have like march music in them and stuff. And there's this sort of military aspect. The first movement of the seventh is a march. Then it's got this warm, romantic central movement, but it can't be too sticky. And it's not here. It's just beautifully flowing. And the finale, which is a virtuoso, it's marked precipitato, and it just goes like this. Now, there are performances of this sonata, which I think have well, it depends what you want, right? There are all the classic Russian ones, but there's Maurizio Pollini's seventh, which is like amazing in terms of simple digital dexterity and clarity and mechanical perfection sort of thing. I mean, it's very, very exciting. I love that performance. I really do. And Goodyear is a little bit, just a smidge more relaxed and human sounding, I would say, a little bit more warmth. There's the first Ashkenazi recording that was on Decca, which is also very, very, very fine, and which has more of a brash quality than this one, possibly because of the sonnets, which are a little glary. The piano Decca piano recordings from that period, you've had some glassy treble sounds here and there, and that actually operates to the music's benefit often, because those, like I said, those wry interjections of screamy, snarly things have more impact, because this is a warm recording. It's a beautiful recording. It's a beautifully balanced recording, but everything is totally up to tempo, and it's really first class playing all the way through. And so I really think that you should hear this. It's a special release, first class. I do have one quip that I've got a quip. I wouldn't be doing my job if I weren't quipping. Packaging and presentation. This is one of those, economically carbon, slightly more neutral paper things with a plastic inner tray. And the version I got, the plastic inner tray, if you look closely here, see the plastic inner tray? It's cracked and it's crushed, and it's all sort of not in very good shape. And I'm a little worried that at some point this is all going to just disintegrate. And back in the days when we had jewel cases, jewel cases. Here's a jewel case, like these things. Remember these? I mean, they're horrible. Granted, they break, they become slivered. You can cut yourself on them, but at least you could replace them easily. What do you do with this? Because this is printed, you can't replace that. I mean, it's got booklet notes, it's got all that stuff in it, of course, in here. But this plastic thing, if something happens to that, you are doomed. You have to start all over again. You've got to get a regular jewel case, I guess, and take the booklet out. You can put that in front and all that, but all the rest of this stuff is waste paper. So that is something to keep in mind. Make sure you get one that is not ready to be completely destroyed. But gosh, the performances are so good. I mean, absolutely fabulous. And so I really recommend it very highly on all the musical grounds. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.